All right, welcome everybody to our second live session for week 3 for DES 305 Web Portfolio Design. I am your instructor, Shannon McNamara, and today is going to kind of be a continuation of where we left off yesterday, and we'll do some more of the critique. And I will try to, troubleshoot some of the things that may be going wrong in the rest of those files. Also, I have some announcements, and we're going to discuss some UX and UI. We're also going to discuss social media icons a little bit more today, and I'm going to show you some tips and tricks if you are placing images and linking those to your social media. And yeah, that's about it for today. So let's just jump right in. Also, a reminder, like I do every single live session, our due dates. All assignments and assessments are due by Saturday at midnight for full credit. You can submit late work, but it will be graded with 20% off, so you're going to start with a B. But of course, please submit because, even a B or a C is definitely better than 0. Week 4 assignments cannot be turned in late, and late discussion posts will not be accepted past the Saturday deadline for the week. Also, your original discussion post is due tomorrow, Wednesday, by midnight, and you need to respond to at least 2 of your fellow students' discussion posts by Saturday. And make sure you're posting on 2 different days. All right, before we get into UX and UI, why don't I pop over into the course, which apparently has no pictures today. Sometimes that happens. I don't recall if I had any announcements between yesterday and today. I don't believe and I didn't. All right, so we're good. We're good there. All right, so let's just get started on our presentation for today. So you've probably heard the term UX or UI. You've probably heard them used interchangeably, but they're definitely 2 different things. UX is the user experience. So my question is, what makes a website successful? Think of every website or just even a handful of websites that you know of that are successful. Why are they successful? What makes them successful? The reason or the answer is how a user perceives it. So, does this website give me value? Is it easy to use? Is it pleasant to use? These are the questions that run through the minds of visitors when they interact with our products, and they form the basis of their decision on whether or not to become a regular user of our site. So, if they get value from it, if it's easy to use, if it's pleasant to use, your visitors are going to come back. User experience design is all about striving to make them answer yes to all of those questions. And when we talk about the user experience, it's not limited to just a web page. It's, this can, we can ask these questions about apps on our phone. We can ask these questions about applications that we're running on our computer. When you think of the Adobe Creative Suite, does it give me value? Yes, because I can get my work done. Is it easy to use? Once you learn it, I think it is. Is it pleasant to use? Yes, because all of the applications interact with each other. They all connect, and I can, seamlessly go from Illustrator to Photoshop to InDesign. So I think it is a pleasant experience. So these are the questions that I answered yes to all of those questions, when asked about the Adobe Creative Suite. But a user is going to, if not consciously, then subconsciously be asking those questions when they also come to my website. So I need to strive to make them answer yes to all of those questions. So what is user experience? User experience, which is abbreviated as UX, is how a person feels, so the feelings they have when interfacing with the system. The system can be a website, a web application, desktop software, an app on your phone, and in modern contexts is generally denoted by some form of human-computer interaction, also known as HCI. Those who work on UX study and evaluate how users feel about a system. They look at such things as ease of use, perception of the value of the system, utility, efficiency in performing tasks, and so forth. So, if I like the look of your system, I think that there could be a value there, but it's not efficient to use, chances are good that it's going to fail my user experience. The efficiency in performing my tasks is definitely pivotal when we talk about that human-computer interaction. The whole reason I'm using a computer is to try to make whatever task it is that I'm doing more efficient. Otherwise, I would just do it by hand. UX designers also look at subsystems and processes within a system. For example, they might study the checkout process of an e-commerce site to see whether users find the process of buying products from the website easy and pleasant. Compared to many other disciplines, particularly web-based systems, UX is relatively new. So when we think about checking out at a website, that really counts if you put items in your shopping cart. Let's say if you were at Amazon and you were looking at a couple of different things and, all right, you needed toothpaste, you needed rice, you saw a toy that you wanted to get for one of your children, and then your husband also needed some socks. So, you might have been poking around on the site for a good 15, 20 minutes, making different decisions, adding a thing here, adding a thing there to your shopping cart. And then let's say that you decide, all right, that's it. I've got everything I need. I'm going to check out. And you go to your shopping cart and none of the items are there. That's definitely not a pleasant or easy experience of trying to buy products. And chances are good if that happened when you went to Amazon and you got all the way to the end and you got to your shopping cart and nothing was there, you probably wouldn't shop there anymore. Or you would probably, maybe you would go to walmart.com or use jet.com or target.com, something else. So, Amazon has specifically, spent time and money making sure the user experience is top notch for their customers. They hire UX people whose only job is to make sure a customer has a seamless user experience on their site. So why is UX important? Nowadays, with so much emphasis on user-centered design, describing and justifying the importance of designing and enhancing the user experience seems almost unnecessary. We could simply say, it's important because it deals with our users' needs, enough said. And everybody would probably be satisfied with that answer. But before our clients and we understood the value of user-centered design, we made design decisions based on just two things: what we thought was awesome and what our client wanted to see. And if you look back on any examples of websites, from the 90s, basically those were the two design decisions that were made back in 1995. What designers thought was awesome and what the client wanted to see, whether or not it was right. Does the client like it? Yes. All right, it's done. And this was the whole process, the outdated decision process. There was a design decision made. Does the client like it? If the answer was no, just revise it and keep going until you got to a yes and it was done. You never stopped and thought about the user experience or whether or not this design was user-centered. You just wanted to make sure that the client liked it and you got your paycheck. And there was a lot of garbage sites on the web because of this. So we built interaction based on what we thought worked. We designed mainly for ourselves. The focus was on aesthetics and the brand with little to no thought of how the people who would use our website would feel about it. There was no science behind what we did. We did it because the results looked good and because they were creative. So we thought lots of animated GIFs and rollover navigation GIFs during that time frame, and because of what our clients wanted. If our client wanted a big picture of cats in the background, even though it made no sense, we put it there. But this decade has witnessed a transformation of the web. Not only has it become more ubiquitous, the web has at least 1.5 billion users globally, and that statistic is from 2008. That statistic is 9 years old. But websites have become so complex and feature-rich that to be effective, they must also have great user experience. Additionally, users have been accessing websites in an increasing number of ways. Mobile devices, a vast landscape of browsers. You have Firefox, you have Chrome, you have Safari, you have people who are still using Internet Explorer, you have Opera. I think that there's a couple others that I'm probably forgetting. So, each browser used to, can display things a little bit differently. There's different types of internet connections out there. Some people are still on dial-up, so we need to take that into consideration. We've also become aware of the importance of accessibility, so universal access to our web-based products, not only for those with special requirements such as screen readers and non-traditional input devices, but for those who don't have a broadband connection or who may have an older mobile device and so forth. With all of these sweeping changes, the websites that have consistently stood out were the ones that were pleasant to use. The driving factor of how we build websites today has become the experience we want to give the people who will use our websites. Yep, exactly. Dial up. I know. People do still have it. Or another, a lot of people do have broadband now, but even some broadband isn't that great. Internet companies have gotten smart and they realize that they can give you like an introductory broadband connection, and it's the cheapest connection that they have, but it's also the slowest connection that they have. And after a while, during the day, it just really bogs down. It's almost the equivalent of dial-up. I know that I have some family members who do that, like my aunt and uncle. They're retired. I'm actually impressed that they have the internet at their house. And they have one laptop that they share. And my aunt has my mother's old iPhone 4 because she does not want to upgrade past that, because after all these years, she finally figured out how to use this and she can't download anything else. She can't update it any further. It is what it is. And you know what? My brother stayed at their house to house sit a couple of weeks ago, and he called me up and said that he thought that there was something wrong with their internet because he had brought over his Xbox and he could not, for the life of him, get his games to stream correctly, and they couldn't get Netflix to stream correctly. And I had to explain to them, ooh, they have the slow internet. So good luck with that, except for maybe really late at night when everybody else in the neighborhood is on. Yeah, exactly. You're totally out of luck, bro. When the rest of the neighborhood is online, you're probably not going to have that great of a connection. And his response was, do you think I can call up the cable company and just get faster internet for this month while I'm here? And I was like, no, actually you can't. So, these are all things though, where my aunt and uncle, they don't know that their internet is slow. That's what they have. It meets their needs. They're not, playing whatever game I think my brother was playing, like NBA 2K17 or something, where it has to be streaming constantly. They go online, they might Google something to look up something. They might, they go on Facebook and just check out pictures of the grandkids, and that's about it. That's the extent of really what they do, and they send an email here and there. So, they're not using a ton of bandwidth, so it meets their needs. But if they navigate over to my website, I need my website to load just as well for them as it would for, somebody who has the highest speed connection that pays the most every single month. Yes, exactly. We've all done that. We've all given a family member, some old technology that we don't use anymore, that's completely obsolete for us. And guess what? It meets their needs. So you need to realize that these people are on the web. And when it comes to at least 1.5 billion users globally from 2008, I want you to stop and think of someone who does not go online. I can only think of one person that I know that does not go online. He doesn't, and it's my father-in-law. He doesn't go online himself, but he sure asked my mother-in-law to Google things for him, and he stands right behind her, barking what he wants to go into Google, and he still uses a flip phone. My mother-in-law has a brand new iPhone, but he still uses a flip phone. And for us, we're just surprised that he has a cell phone. So, there's definitely, you might know one or two people these days who don't use the internet, but that number is really dwindling. Almost everyone uses the internet these days, or at least knows enough about its existence to say, hey, can you go Google something for me? So what situations, when we think of UX, would benefit from UX design? And it's easy for us to say that all web systems would benefit from a solid evaluation and design of the user experience. I mean, we could definitely say that. But arguing against it is hard if you really truly care about user-centered design. But in reality, we don't live in a perfect world, and most companies do not have unlimited resources to, hire a special team to come in and look at the UX of their website. So, we need to prioritize and identify the areas that stand to gain the most from UX design and having a UX designer. And those are the following four: complex systems, startups, projects that have an okay budget, and then projects that have a longer time frame. So complex systems, Amazon. I can't think of a more complex system, honestly. The more complex the system, the more involved the planning and architecture will have to be for it. While investing in a full-blown multi-member UX study for a simple, static website for, Bob's Tree Service might be a bit excessive, multifaceted websites such as Amazon and interaction-rich website applications, e-commerce websites, they stand to benefit a lot from having a team of UX designers. Systems that involve a myriad of user tasks must be perceived as being valuable, pleasant, and efficient. So designers risk big losses in revenue by neglecting the user experience. Again, if I go to Amazon and I add 6 things to my shopping cart, and when I get into my cart, only 4 of them are there, maybe I can't remember what the other 2 things were. Maybe they were impulse buys, and now that they're not showing up, I'm not going to get them. And Amazon is out money. So they really stand to gain a lot by having a team of UX designers to ensure that every time I add something to my cart, it's there and the checkout is seamless. Startups. So when you're thinking, well, we were just talking about how, some companies don't have a ton of money. All right, if you are a startup business and even kind of a smaller company that's just starting up, generally you don't have the resources to hire a dedicated set of employees for your UX design. However, you can, hire somebody who can wear multiple hats. And, that would be a graphic web designer who understands UX and can do your UX design. So in this situation, training existing employees, especially the web designers, in the principles and the processes of UX, or even just contracting out the UX work as you need it, might be more suitable than hiring a full-time employee. However, creating a solid user experience for users in the very first version of your product or service can certainly make it stand out and attract users' attention. You want to get it right from the get-go. But as the owner of a startup, sometimes you might not have enough resources for hiring a skilled UX designer. So again, if you are a graphic and web designer who understands UX, that makes you so valuable to startups, to smaller companies, to even medium-sized companies that might not have a whole UX team. So, you definitely want to understand what the user experience is if this is your plan after you graduate to go get a job as a web designer. You want to tell your potential employer, hey, I understand UX design. I understand what the user experience is and what we are looking for and what we're looking to give our customers. That's going to make you seriously indispensable. And then we have projects with an okay budget. So smaller agencies that work for small and medium-sized businesses, and these are like design agencies, who then work as a contractor for smaller, medium-sized businesses who need to keep their costs low for the customer base and prioritize deliverables in order to stay on budget. Those would be the budgets that have an okay budget, or the projects that have an okay budget. The focus in these situations is more on the build process and less on the planning, research, and analysis. So projects with small budgets will be driven more by the launch of the final product. That doesn't mean that these projects wouldn't benefit from the good UX. Of course they would. But in practice, smaller, medium-sized companies often do not feel compelled to invest tons of resources into something that is not necessary for the launch of their site. So again, if you're a good web designer who understands UX, you can get in on this project, and in theory, you can save the company money because they might not need to, contract out this work. So it makes you a more valuable employee to understand this. And then projects with a longer time frame. So by simple logic, adding a cog to the traditional website production process will end up extending its timeline. Time must be allotted for user experience design, just like anything else. UX designers could, in theory, shorten timelines by taking on some of the tasks that are traditionally assigned to web designers and developers, thus potentially saving time and costs in the revision phase by having addressed user issues. So here's some things to know about UX design. UX design is an amazing discipline, but it cannot and will not accomplish certain things. It just can't. It's not a one-size-fits-all link. So user experience design won't work in every situation for every user because as human beings, we are all different. What worked for one person might have the opposite effect on another. And just as we can't design a user experience, we can't replicate the user experience for one website exactly on another website. So if I am Bob's Tree Service, I can't say, you know what? I want my user experience to be just like Amazon. That wouldn't make any sense. So, you can't just say, hey, we did this for Amazon. Clearly, if we do the same exact thing for you, you're going to get the same results because two different companies, two different businesses, two different business models. Exactly. You got to focus on your target market. Good job. Yes. I'm reading out of the chat. So user experiences will be different between websites, and a design must be tailored to the goals, values, production process, and products of its website. It can't be directly assessed with traditional metrics links. So you can't determine the effectiveness of a user experience design based solely on statistics such as, page views, bounce rates, and conversion rates. You can make some assumptions based on those trends, and we can ask users for anecdotal evidence, but we can't install an app, at least yet, that automatically records user experience statistics directly. And then it's not the same thing as the usability link. So user experience and usability have become synonymous, but these two fields are actually clearly distinct. UX addresses how a user feels when they're using the system, where usability is about the user friendliness and efficiency of the interface. So one is based on feelings. That's UX, like, oh, well, I'm on the site and I find this super easy. That's cool. So I feel content while I'm using the site. And the other is the user friendliness. So when I click on shopping cart, the button works. It brings me to my shopping cart and I can click the button that says buy now. That's the efficiency and the user friendliness of that interface. And then we have website accessibility. So the W3C, which is the World Wide Web Consortium, which is basically the boss of the web, it's the main international standards organization for the World Wide Web. The W3C has a set of standards to define website accessibility. The web is fundamentally designed to work for all people, whatever their hardware, so that's their computer, their software, their language, their culture, their location, any physical or mental ability. So when the web meets this goal, it is accessible to people with a diverse range of hearing, movement, sight, and cognitive ability. So you know how this week we added SEO to our images and we added in those image tags, that actually has to do with accessibility. So if images don't load correctly, it will, because, you know, maybe somebody has a very slow internet connection, and so they have shut off images, so the images won't load and take up, you know, all of their bandwidth. It will still give our alt tag saying what should have been there. And then if somebody is using a screen reader, it will actually read what those alt tags are to explain the image to somebody who cannot see our web page. So, you know, not just for, you know, things to come up in Google is that important, but it's really important, you know, for those who have accessibility issues, and to make sure that the web is available to them as well. So the impact of disability is radically changed on the web because the web removes barriers to communication and interaction that many people may face in the physical world. However, when websites, web technologies, or web tools are badly designed, they can actually create barriers that exclude people from using the web. So you want to make sure you break down all of those barriers when you are designing your websites. So why? This is the case for web accessibility. It is essential that the web be accessible in order to provide equal access and equal opportunity to people with diverse abilities. Indeed, the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities recognizes access to information and communications technologies, including the web, as a basic human right. Accessibility supports social inclusion for people with disabilities, as well as others such as older people, people in rural areas, and people in developing countries. There is also a strong business case for accessibility. Accessibility overlaps with other best practices such as mobile web design, device independence, multi-modal interaction, usability, design for older users, and search engine optimization, that SEO. Case studies show that accessible websites have better search results, reduced maintenance costs, and increased audience reach, among other benefits. Developing a web accessibility business case for your organization details the social, technical, financial, and legal benefits of web accessibility. And then we have the what. Some examples of web accessibility. So properly designed websites and web tools can be used by people with disabilities. However, currently many sites and tools are developed with accessibility barriers that make it difficult or impossible for some people to use them. And here are just a few examples. The alternate text for images, keyboard input, and transcripts for podcasts. So alternate text for images, those are those alt tags that you put in. So alt text is the classic example. Images should include equivalent alternative text in the markup or code. If alt text isn't provided for images, the image information is inaccessible, for example, to people who cannot see and use a screen reader that reads aloud the information on a page, including the alt text for the visual image. And that's also why that alt text, or what you name your image, should basically tell the viewer what this image is. You know, if it's a picture of a woman on a computer, it should say woman on computer. You know, don't just name it image 1. That doesn't tell the viewer who can't see the image what's going on the page. When equivalent alt text is provided, the information is available to everyone, to people who are blind, as well as people who turned off images on their mobile phone to lower the bandwidth charges, people in a rural area with low bandwidth who turned off images to speed up their downloads, and then others. It's also available to technologies that cannot see the image, such as search engines. And then we have keyboard input. Some people cannot use a mouse, including many older users with limited fine motor control. They just have a very hard time using a mouse. So an accessible website does not rely on the mouse. It provides all functionality via a keyboard. Then people with disabilities can use assistive technologies that mimic the keyboard, such as speech input. And then transcripts for podcasts. Just as images aren't available to people who can't see, audio files aren't available to people who can't hear. So providing a text transcript makes the audio information accessible to people who are deaf or hard of hearing, as well as to search engines and other technologies that can't hear. It's easy and relatively inexpensive for web developers to provide transcripts for podcasts and audio files. There are also transcription services that create text transcripts in HTML format. All right, so yesterday, if you recall, I had gone over the different brand assets. So today, in this slideshow, which I will share with you, I have all of those links for you. So that way you can, if you're looking for a specific social media icon, you can just go to this page and it'll bring you right over to those brand assets. I figured that might make it a little bit easier for you guys. So remember, use original unmodified logos and images. Generally, resizing logos is the only modification allowed. Read over those brand assets. Capitalize the brand's name when acceptable. Maintain space around brand logos and images. So I am going to download Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn for my site. So I'm going to go to LinkedIn first. I'm going to download those brand assets. YouTube. I'm going to download the full color dark logo because I'm putting it on a black footer. And then Facebook, even though I can use the widget, I'm going to download the logo just to show you guys. I'll do the F logo possibly. See, I also need to figure out if I can use it in white. I can use it in white on a black background. So do not use the version of the logo that comes with a blue box on white or light colored backgrounds, and the version of the logo that comes on a white box on blue or dark colored backgrounds. So if I use this one that has a white box with the blue F on the inside, I can't use that on a white background. I can't use the blue box on another darker or especially blue background. I can, however, set it up this way. So I want them for online. I've read and accepted the guidelines. I'm going to download them. And there we go. And I'll go into my site. Working site, there we go. And I'll put them in my images folder. So let me drag these over and I'll unzip them over here. LinkedIn. And YouTube. And delete that. All right, so let me open up my site. And there's something I want to show you when it comes to your social media icons that I think is really important. Go over into the master, and I'm going to just delete what I have in here right now. Let me just delete all of these. All right, so when you are placing social media icons and you're linking them to your social media accounts, do you want that website to open up in the browser that you're already in or in the tab that you're already in, or do you want it to open up in a new tab? Right, open up in a new tab or a new page, because you don't want people to navigate away from your website. And I'll show you what I mean. All right, so let me place those images. All right, my first one I'm going to do, and I'm going to do PNG files because this is for the web. I want logo, not white, probably 72. Oops. Place that there. And I'm going to go to hyperlinks. Oops. And I'm going right here, hyperlinks, add or filter links, and I'm going to have it linked to www.facebook.com pixel 8 design. I believe that I have that correct. You can copy and paste it in too. And you'll notice that I don't have that opening up in a new tab. Let me do a file, preview site in browser. And we'll see what happens. Right, exactly. So if it opens up in the tab and then they're gone, they're gonna have to hit back 10,000 times to get back to your page. You don't want that to happen. All right. So somebody's on my page and they're checking me out and they're like, oh, they have a Facebook. Let me go to their Facebook page. And it opens up right here in the tab that they were looking at my website in. And now, if they end up poking around on my Facebook page and they look at some photos and maybe they look at videos and then they look at services and now they have to go back, you know, all the way back to get back to my web page. And if they ever do come back, because if they're on my Facebook page and they notice that, you know, so-and-so, they have 7 notifications up in the right-hand corner, then they're going to check their notifications and probably forget all about me because they've now left my page. So what you want to do is you want to, with the logo selected, when you add in that URL, click on the word hyperlinks to expand options, and you want it to open the link in a new tab or window. And that way, your website stays in this page and opens up in the Facebook page in another tab. So I'll show you that. You probably know what it looks like, but we'll just see, and you can see how much better it is when that happens. I'm one of those people who gets easily distracted as well. So that's, yeah. So they're checking out everything, checking out my page. Oh, they have a Facebook page. Click, opens up in a new tab. They can do whatever it is that they're doing and then close it out. Oh, and they're still back on my site. So they never leave me that way. So you definitely want to make sure that you open up those hyperlinks in a new tab. But you never want any of your other links within your own website to open up in a new tab. Like you wouldn't want the portfolio page to open up in a new tab. So every single time that they click on a page and then they have all of these tabs open, that should all stay within the same browser tab. So, oh, I already saved that. I'm trying to think if there was something else I wanted to go over before I got into that. So finishing up the critique, social media icons, opening up outside websites in a new tab or window. All right, so that kind of takes care of all of that. So we can get back into our critique and I will shut this all down. And close this. All right, so we open up the next Muse file and go to the next URL, where's my list? There we go. Which is right here. All right, and let's make sure they match. Design your future. Yes, okay. So we're on the same site. All right, so the first thing you'll probably notice, I don't know if you can tell, can you see the star? Because I'm watching myself on my iPad, and my cursor on my iPad looks like a regular cursor, but on my screen, I don't even know how to explain this. It looks like a star. So let me just take a screenshot. Oh, and that's not going to do it. I don't even know how to show this. Yeah, it's actually, I'm going to put this URL so you know what I'm talking about. I'm going to put it in the chat for you. That's the only way that I can basically show you this. Hold on one second. There you go. So you get the full user experience. All right. So the mouse, even though you can't see it, on my end looks like a very big star. And that's, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit distracting. I understand, like, it's definitely cool, but it's a little bit distracting. I'm gonna try to take a picture of it and then send it over to myself. So that way I can show you. Try to think of the best way to do this. No. It's like, do you want to airdrop this with your husband who's upstairs? No, not really. I don't think he wants it. I'll just open it up. Hold on one second. Just so everybody, because it's really hard to explain without actually seeing the picture.
Okay, I saw it. I'm sorry, I had to run upstairs. I was on 1% battery.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Yeah,
yes.
I'm just trying to, I took a picture and I'm just waiting for my, for it to sync so I can open it up.
Yeah, I saw the star.
Yeah, I figured I'd take a picture for everybody at home too, just because if I'm trying to explain it, it's a little bit weird if you can't see what I'm talking about. So, but for some reason my photos aren't syncing together, so I'm gonna have to send myself a text with my picture. And as soon as I do this, obviously it'll show up because that's how that goes.
It's a cool star. I don't even know how they did that, but
I think it was one of the third-party plugins.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure it was a third-party plugin. So, all right. There we go. We just close this. All right, and reshare my screen. All right, so you should be able to see it on my screen. All right, I literally took a picture of my screen with my cell phone. All right, so this is what my cursor looks like when I'm moving across the screen, which is, it can be pretty cool, but it's also a little bit distracting because as you can see, if I accidentally leave my cursor somewhere and I'm trying to read, I tend to read. I don't know if I'm the only person who does this, but I tend to read with my cursor, so I don't miss my space, especially when I'm reading online, and I use it to just kind of like follow along like I would with the finger. So it's really difficult to do that with this type of a cursor, and I think a lot of people probably do that, so it can be a little bit distracting. And then the only other thing I noticed is I'm trying to resize the page to see the breakpoints, and it bounces between that star and the double arrow, so I almost can't see where I'm at when I'm trying to drag. So that was a little bit distracting. So I would consider losing the star personally, just because I'm having a really hard time kind of interacting with the site with the star. So we've got the two panels. on this page, and we have the contact us, the contact form, which is good. Again, I'm having a hard time kind of selecting different things. I would probably change the rollover not to go to white because I kind of lose the text right there when that happens, or at least change the font color. But I do like the 3 panels with 3 different images. I think that that's a good idea. The design is definitely breaking up though. So this needs to go down to 1 column for sure when the breakpoints are added in. Even once you hit the 768, I think it should go down to 1 column, and things need to be pinned because the design's definitely starting to break up as the page is scaled down, and the same thing's happening down here. So the things are running outside of the page. Oh, there we go. All right, so let's take a look at this file. So we have those breakpoints in, but you can see when I close up your breakpoints, these slideshows always show like they're open, but they aren't. So don't worry about that. But it's right in between you know, the 1280 and the 768. See how it really, this starts to run off the page. Things are starting to just get a little bit wonky. You go into the 360. This image is so small at this point. And then we get to 360. And let me pick. And this is really, really small for a mobile menu. Think of how small 360 is. I'm wondering if I can do a view. Actual size. So that would be really hard for me to click on that with my fingers on the cell phone. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at the master and see what we can do to fix this. First up, this needs to be much larger. So let's, and so do the buttons, because again, I'm trying to click with my fingers and that's not going to be really easy for me. So let's open this up. This should probably run the whole width of this 360 breakpoint. The logo needs to be much larger. So let's send this to the back. And I would pin your menu to the right and pin your logo to the left, and I wouldn't resize it. I would just leave that at none. And then you'll notice that your navigation is starting to fall apart right after the 768 breakpoint. The navigation is really, it starts to really close up. So if you are definitely dead set on using this navigation until the 360 breakpoint, you can just extend the width of the box, and I would pin this to the left. I would also pin your logo to the left and not resize it, because there's really no need for your logo to get smaller, because it's never going to run outside of that of the box or the area between the 768 and the 360. So that'll fix that. And then let's see what's going on. Same thing for this breakpoint. Open up the menu. Do that. You can do responsive width. I would not resize the logo. I would leave that at none and pin them both to the left, and let's see. And that'll make it to your 768 breakpoint. All right, so let's take a look at these items. These were starting to fall off the page a bit. So let's try pinning these. Let's try grouping them first and then pinning them to the right. All right, so that keeps those from running outside the page over here. So this is, again, where pinning is extremely, important. Then again, pin them to the right. See if it makes it to the 360 breakpoint. And it does. All right, so that definitely takes care of that. Let's take a look at the home page now. So your navigation is a lot wider. I know that seems a little bit weird, but you have a lot of space here. There's no reason that you can't just move these items over to make that navigation work for you. So let's just move these items over. You can also move them down. They don't need to be up here with this navigation. Like, let's drop a rule underneath degrees and move everything down. And then you can also move it back over to the center if you want. It was here, maybe? We'll say that that's where it was. All right, so design your future. This text box was starting to close up on itself. So again, we need to extend this text box, center the text. So you can do that and then just kind of center everything along with it. Let's grab this and this and this, and we'll just align these. Come on. And we'll move this image over a little bit. And I think that this image should probably be a little bit larger, honestly. You have all the space. I would make this image larger. And line it up with the top of this text box. All right, so this image, I am going to pin it to the right. I am going to pin these two to the center. And I'm going to pin the slideshow to the center as well. Let's see what happens. So we pretty much make it to the 768 breakpoint. I know it's difficult to see with the slideshow because it always shows this container, even though it obviously doesn't show it that way. So let's do File, Preview, Page and Browser. Hold on. I'm actually going to, this is that mouse pointer. Seems to be a lot of items. Oh, maybe it's on the master. Oh, and don't be careful about putting, extra navigation items out here on the side. That can kind of screw you up. I'm going to just get rid of this mouse pointer for now because make my life a little bit easier. So File, Preview, Page and Browser. Let's see how this worked. Yes, it is 1280. But it seems to be working okay. So I'm not concerned about the 1280. It is a little bit large. All right, so let's see. Oh, this moves. All right, so we kind of got that first breakpoint down. Things aren't running into each other. The text box is staying open. All right, so that works. And then this still looks fine. All right, so let's take a look at the 768 breakpoint. Again, I would make this image a little bit larger. You can go a little bit larger with this. I would also design your future. Center that. Might want to make this text box a little bit larger. Maybe center it right here. And kind of leave your slideshow in the middle. All right, so I'm going to pin the slideshow in the middle. I'm going to, again, pin this image to the right. And I'm going to pin these to the left, and we'll see how this goes. Oh, it's running into it a little bit. Let's move this down. Let's move design your future down. It's running on top of my navigation. Let's center, try centering this. Let's move this image over here for this breakpoint. We'll still be able to see it unless if we open up the slideshow, so that's fine. Or maybe even up a little bit more. Make it a little bit larger. Or even we can do something like this. Design your future. And move this down here. Sometimes you have to just kind of move your layout around to make it work in your different breakpoints. All right. So maybe these three will be pinned in the center. All right, let's see what happens. And we're losing, oh, nope, there it came back. All right. Oh, I need to move my slideshow down. Whoops. Hold on. Move slideshow there. All right, let's do, again, file preview. Sometimes you can't really tell in Muse. You have to kind of preview it in the browser. All right, so starting at the beginning, closing it up, closing it up. Should we hit that breakpoint soon? And we hit that breakpoint. We go to this design. I think this works a little bit better. And that gets us all the way to the end till we get to the 360. All right, so I think that might work a little bit better for you to just kind of rearrange that layout when you get to the 768. So you have a nice big image still. You know, design your future. Here's the people, like, you know, jumping. You have your, and then you still have the slideshow down at the bottom. And make sure you get rid of that lorem ipsum text in your slideshow too. So I think that that'll help. And 360. All right, so for the 360, I think you need to realize, like, this is on a cell phone. I would make this image pretty big. Take this text, move it down, make sure it's centered in the space. Move this text and run it right across. And you can move your slideshow up just a bit. All right, now we can see. And I'll just hit preview to see what that looks like. There we go. All right, make sure we're completely centered. Everything's centered. Which it wasn't, apparently. And we'll pin everything in the center. Oh, I thought it was a muse. Where did my muse preview go? Did I kill Muse? To close out some other. Oh, I did. I killed Muse. All right. Yeah. That's what I get for trying to do that too many times. Let's see if it saved it. Oh, all right. Recovering. Well, that's good. Sometimes Muse recovers. Sometimes it doesn't, though. So kind of, oh, good grief. Keep that in mind. All right, so let's try it one more time. I'll probably have to. $360. All right, I've got this. Oh, let's take a look at that. Hold on there. $360 breakpoint. I have homes and degrees. All right, so I need to hide in this breakpoint. $768. All right, we're good. And $1280. All right. And we'll preview this one last time. I know, right? Yeesh. Gotta wonder who took that. And oh, our navigation's missing. Where did our navigation go? In that 360 breakpoint. It's gone. I don't know why. All right, I'll just drag it back out for you so we can see it. There we go. And pin that to the right. All right, so bizarre. Right click, hide another breakpoints. There we go. All right, so that's how I would personally fix this one. All right, whew, don't save. It should. I honestly just didn't go about fixing it. But yes, that was a good question. When I placed that navigation widget, I didn't place it all the way in the header just because I was rushing to finish it up. But it definitely should be placed inside of the header. So good eyes. All right, next one. All right. So we've got a nice slideshow that opened up when we first started. I like that. Good font choices. I think that this is a nice clean font. It's really good for the web. I like the navigation. We have our different degree programs. And we have our form. So I'll say, I forgot to send out from the last one, saying hello from the critique. And brings me back to the home page. All right, perfect. And I'm just going to, just so that way everybody gets an email from me, I'm going to send an email from that last form, which I forgot to do. Saying hello from the critique. Oh, I can't. There we go. All right. I was having a hard time trying to select with that. Oh, with the star. I can't figure out where I'm clicking. I actually am trying to look on my iPad to see where I'm clicking because I'm not close. Let me see if I can tab. Enter. All right, that doesn't seem to be, that mouse is definitely interfering with being able to click on the form. All right, so that's not good. So yeah, I would definitely get rid of that that star. All right, so back to this one. My one thing is I don't feel that this teal goes with the rest of the color scheme, and it kind of sticks out. So I would choose a different color rather than that teal. I know on my end it looked like I was there too, but it wouldn't select it. It was really weird. It's like, I'm like, I can see myself on the iPad. I'm like squinting and looking at the iPad while using my mouse and not looking at my other screen. So that was a little odd. I would definitely change the color in the background here. I just don't feel like it matches this color scheme. You know, maybe do a lighter version of this blue, but this isn't that lighter version, or even just stick with a gray. A gray might even work, or like even a yellow. I just think that the teal kind of clashes. I like the layout of the panels. I think that worked well. I would make sure you're using the high-res version of the logo. This looks a little bit low-res. And let's see how the site responds. All right, so I hit right here, and this is running into here. So we're probably gonna have to take a look at that text box. And it looks like our social media links are running outside of the footer. And then, all right, we hit that. And again, after we hit the breakpoint, the same thing starts to happen. It's just kind of breaking up. And we've almost all but lost our social media links are overlapping. All right, so we're gonna have to take a look at that. Let's see what happens on the degree page. All right, we're starting to lose our form a little bit. And then things are just really running into each other inside of our panel. So we gotta take a look at that. All right. All right, let's look at the master first. And we'll open it right up. So this is where pinning, again, that's gonna be your best friend. So select both of your social media icons. I would group them and I would pin them to the right. And that should keep them from running outside the page, which it looks like it does. And your navigation stays together, which is good. I don't think you have to resize your logo. I would probably set this to none and so it doesn't get so small. There we go. And pin the logo to the left. Your navigation can be pinned to the right because you want it to stay where it is. There we go. I think that that's a good plan. Same thing in your 768. I don't think you need to set your logo to resize. I would set it to none. Pin your menu to the right. It does stay together through this. It seems to stay together through this breakpoint, and then make sure this is pinned to the right as well. So let's try to close this up, see if we make it to 360, which we do. And again, I would set that to none. And centered, you have your mobile menu, pinned to the left, that works. And your social media, I would probably pin these to the left in this breakpoint. It's not like you're going to go much smaller than 360. All right, I think that that really takes care of that. All right, so let's take a look at those pages. Let's take a look at the home page first. All right, so the design your future, this text box is getting too small because it's resizing. It's always going to do that. So you need to expand these text boxes out. That's where those guides come into play. And let's see, let's double check that. We're gonna need to do something about that. All right. So let's pin this to the center. Let's pin this to the center. Under resize for this text box, I'm going to go to none because I think we can make it to the 768 breakpoint without having to resize it. The slideshow, going to select, I'm going to pin that to the center. All right, so let's see what happens. Will she make it? Oh, and we do. All right. You might even be able to just maybe close it up a smidge on both sides and then recenter it with the text box up here. And then that'll, boom. All right. Like when things work out. Let's go to 768 breakpoint. So we want to make sure that this stays in the center. This stays in the center, and we need to open up that design your future again, right up to the edges. And this is going to start to resize. Close up this text box so you don't have those two elements overlapping each other. All right, so this is going to start to resize. It's going to start to run into your slideshow, which is not what you want to happen. And I'll show you that. So even though we've pinned these things where they need to go, but we're probably going to have to group some things as well. Oh, it is pushing it down. Okay, good. Sometimes it doesn't do it on its own, and you have to group your slideshow with your text. Now, these slideshows are not responsive, which is really a pain, to say the least. So maybe instead of pinning it to the center, I might pin it to the right so that way you can still see the counters when it starts to resize, and it's just the thumbnails that will go off the side. Let's try this responsive width. Let's see what happens. See what happens if we can responsive width. Maybe it'll let me width and height. All right, let me see. All right, that got weird for a second. Why are you over here? That got bizarre. All right. Still gonna pin you to the right. I don't know why you're running all over the place. We pin each part individually. That doesn't seem like it would make any sense. That is so bizarre. Resize, responsive width. All right, well, if I just do this for everything individually. And I'll try pinning it to the center again. See if that does it. Oh, all right. There we go. All right, that worked. It gets a little bit weird down here. The text starts to run off, but that might be the best you can do. Again, these slideshows, yeah, you can pull the thumbnails too. That's a good call. You can pull the thumbnails closer together if you close up this box. They'll be in one column. You might want to do that, and then kind of recenter this whole thing. See if that gives you a little bit more room. And then 360, for some reason this ended up way down here at the 360. So let's bring this up here. And again, make sure you're centering your text. You're not just trying to center the text box on its own. Move this up. All right. So that probably fixed that. Let's see. And yeah, it gets a little bit weird right before the 360, but like I said, sometimes there's not much you can do with that. You might be able to move the text box. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, I'm going to call my company. Ignore, just stop crashing. Tell us more. Tell us more how it's crashing. I'm breaking news left and right.
Mine crashed the other day. I swear it was at least 5 times working on my assignment.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried it's going to keep doing that because it's not like I can restart my machine while I'm doing a live session because I'll lose the recording. So I'm going to have to just kind of fumble through it. We'll see how far it got before it. Let's see if it remembered anything I did. Oh, it did. All right. Wow. Well, that's new. All right. So what I was trying to say is maybe we can move. Oh, come on. All right. What I was trying to do is make that text box wider underneath and then widen up the slideshow counters. I'm not even going to try it in this file because I don't know if it's the file that's causing me to crash at this point because it's been recovered 3 times. So I'm going to just close it out and I will I'll show you in my site so I don't mess up anybody else's what I was trying to do. and hope I don't crash. It's going to be a long 40 minutes if I do, if this keeps happening. All right, so what I was trying to do, because this is actually the same exact one, let me just turn on the captions, there we go, is I was trying to move the caption box down and make it the width. I'm like so gingerly doing things right now. Make it the width of my image. And then I was going to do the same thing for the counter box. Bring that over. Make it really wide. Bring this one over. Again, make it really wide. And then last one. That even? Yeah. So that way when it started to resize and those boxes got smaller, it would resize correctly. All right, so that's what I was trying to show you. So hopefully that'll work. Let me close out this site and don't save, because Lord knows what I just did to my site right now. All right, next one, moving on. All right, so we have home degrees and contact. We have 2 large images. And then we have the design your future. I like this font. I think that this was a good font choice for the site. I also like this idea of this really big picture of people, you know, working, clearly doing design. I like that, and I like that I scroll down to see it. That feels very modern, the way that that works. I'm not sold on the color scheme. I think if you're going to use blue, use the Independence blue. You know, this purplish and the teal, they just, both of those colors really clash with the Independence blue. And I think you want to make sure you're using the school color scheme. Again, down here, I would make sure you're using the school color scheme. Also, if you're going to put the social media icons, make sure you're using the correct ones. And if you have a Facebook like, you don't really need the Facebook logo as well. And then these are dark. I wouldn't use these rollover colors. I think just the colors need to be changed, but otherwise I think it's a good layout. And we have bachelor's and then contact info. So that's interesting. I like the idea of, you know, putting the form into the panel. So one less thing, but again, I would make the color scheme match. And brings you back to the home page. And then we also have this contact page, which you didn't need to have, but there's nothing here. So make sure you're getting rid of that. Yeah, I like the third panel. Like, I think it's like, oh, all right, so I'm looking. I've got my different degrees. Oh, contact info for degrees. That's cool. And I like the swirls to the navigation. I think that looks cool. Again, I like the different rollovers. I'm just not sold on the color scheme of the site. All right, so let's see this respond. All right, so I'm going to pay attention to what's going on here, and if I start to lose any of my wording, and I am in the panel. So you got to be careful of that. And then we've got some extra space here, and this seems to be running. It looks as though my footer's staying up here. And these items are moving. All right, so I'm going to have to take a look at that. And then again, we're kind of losing that information there. All right, so let's take a look at this file, and I hope I don't crash. All right, so again, you don't need that contact page, so I would just delete that. And that'll give you only two menu items that you kind of have to contend with. And let's take a look first at the, okay, I see what's going on here. All right, so part of your footer is running outside of your footer. See these arrows right here? You're gonna need to extend, this is your bottom of the page. You need to extend that down to the bottom of that rectangular box if that is going to be your entire footer. And then let's make sure each of these items, that footer is checked, and it is. And then also make sure that you change out where you would like that URL to go if you're going to use one of those widgets. And you would want to hyperlink these, but use the correct brand assets or use the correct widgets. All right, so let's see what happens when we start to close this between the 1200 and the 768. All right, so the navigation makes it. And then the mobile menu seems to go out here for some reason. That's weird. Let's take a look at that. Let's extend this. The width of the page. Let's pin it to the right and set a resize to none. All right, that's gonna at least keep that where it needs to be. I would even, I don't think you need to resize this logo. Yeah, you might. Let's see how far we make it. Yeah, you're probably gonna have to resize it. All right, but it's getting a little bit weird down here. Okay, so down here in the footer, when I'm in your footer on the 768 breakpoint, nothing is selected that's part of the footer. So you need to select this rectangle and check it off as footer item. This is showing it's in the footer. This is not showing it's in the footer. Really? Footer. All right, let's move that back up where it goes. There we go. Oh, and let's extend these items to be the whole width. We'll do responsive width. Oh, responsive width. There we go. All right. These, I don't feel as though you need to necessarily resize them. I would probably close down the height of your menu items right here and move them kind of down. Make sure they're in there. And then each of these logos, if you're really determined to use these logos, I don't think they need to be resized. They're already small. So set those to none. Group these three and this, group them, and pin them to the right. And then pin your navigation. Oh, I'm sorry, pin them to the left and pin your navigation to the right. And that should make it to 360. And it does. All right. Now let's take a look at the 360. Looks good. Okay. So let's take a look at the home page. Oh, can you? Oh, sorry about that. She's all the way upstairs. So let's take a look at what is going on between our 1200 and our 768. And we'll watch the whole page. And I lost that image for a second. It might be because it's missing on my end. Stretch to browser width. Okay. I'm going to set this text box, I'm going to close it up a little bit, like I did on the other site, and set it to none. Let's see. I have to preview this to see if it's actually working. Hopefully that doesn't crash me. And the image is missing because I don't have the image, so it's showing up as missing. And that's really, so it's really hard for me to kind of troubleshoot what's going on with that image because it's showing up as missing, but this is not resizing how I want it to. So let's pin this to the center. I'm going to do responsive width for this one and pin it to the center. And for this, I'm going to change it from stretch to browser width to none, and I'm going to see if it stays. And I don't lose it then. But it's also not going to stretch the whole width of the browser if I don't do it. So I can see why you're doing that. And I don't remember if it actually fell off at all on your home page. So let's double check. It seems to respond okay. All right, so you can leave that how you had it. It seems to respond okay. I would pin it to the bottom center to kind of keep it down here, which seems to be where you want it to be. And here we are at 768. Seems to work. And 360, I would widen this a bit in the 360. Oh, we've got doubles here. $768, $360. We have two of these. So top one, I'm going to hide in this breakpoint because I believe it belongs in this breakpoint. And I'm going to expand this one. And I'm probably gonna move this image up a little bit, along with this rectangle. And this. All right, I can see what's going. Whoa. Oh, jeez. All right, so you can see what I'm trying to do here. It's a little bit difficult because I don't have access to your images. So that takes care of that. Let's take a look at these panels because they were kind of getting a little weird in between. And the panels can be a little bit different. Responsive width, definitely want that. And you need to kind of click. Don't know if it's going to let me change text. All right. My thoughts on this, because you kind of have a lot of spacing here, and what I would do is I would try to get this panel, okay, inside of where your 768 breakpoint is, if you can, and get all, get all of the content, which you're going to have to manually move stuff over. I hate these panels. They're not my favorite thing in the world. I'm not going to lie. Let's see, move you to here. Okay. Close you to here. Oh, come on. Oh, I know why, because you have to do this in every single panel. You need to go in and close inside text box. See if it'll let me now. Because then what you can do, what I'm trying to do is you can then set this panel to not resize. Set it to none, and that'll keep your text from running into each other. So we can start to close this, see? And we should be able to make it to the 768 breakpoint right before it falls apart. And then you can try to do the same thing. I think what you might want to do in the 768 breakpoint is, this is a lot of information inside of these tabs. Put it to 2 lines. So, do associate's degree, bachelor's degree, contact info for degrees. I would do this, and that is going to keep it from running into each other in between 768, the text, and the 360. That's how I would fix that. And then again, you can set it to resize then if you do that. It should. That should take care of that. Or even try stretch to browser width and see how that goes. Oh, stretch to browser width. Maybe it'll be your best bet. That might be your best bet, the stretch to browser width. That might take care of that instead of resizing. I would make this form on the inside at least the width of like the 360 breakpoint in the 768, or at least a little bit wider and let it resize. Same thing in the 1200. I would probably make your form, move it to the center, make it larger, because it's starting to collapse on itself when it starts to resize. So that might take care of that in this page. Hopefully that was helpful. Close out this one. And the last one I didn't have a URL for, so we're just going to open up the file. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. In the chat it says, I wish you could resize that form all at once. And it's true. Like, why can't we just resize it all at once? Why do I have to click on individual things and try to resize things over and over and over again? Okay, so for this one, it has some extra pages that we definitely don't need. We only need this degrees page. We don't need this career or program page. But I'm not going to get into redoing that right now. So let's see what happens in between the 960 and the 768 breakpoint. All right, so this is starting, we lost the S and the last letter in these words, so we got to watch that. All right, so we got to do some pinning and we got to look at how things are resizing. All right, so for the logo, use the high-res logo, set the logo resize to none, and pin that to the left. Your navigation should make it to 768. So these are set as buttons. They're not set as the widget, I don't think. So I'm going to group these. I'm going to set the resize to none. And I'm going to pin them to the center. We're going to see how that works. It still got a little weird for a second there. Are they not centered on the page? Let's try that. Pin to the center, not resized. I feel like it didn't stay in the center. It's getting like really far to, oh, okay. It just needed to redraw itself. All right. Oh, because we're only going from 960 to 768. All right. So then when we get to the 768, you're going to try, I don't think it's going to make it to 360. It's definitely going to fall off before it gets to the 360. So I would use the mobile menu in the 768 breakpoint, because look, you can see like this is the boundary for the 360 breakpoint right here, and you can see that these buttons are running off on the side, so they're not going to fit. And even if you resize it, it's not going to resize the size of the text. It's only going to resize the text box, so all of the words will end up kind of running into each other. So you don't want that to happen. But again, I wouldn't resize this logo, and make sure you're pinning things. And you're probably going to need to make your navigation, your footer smaller. Oh, and again, make sure the bottom of your page, there we go, goes to the bottom of your footer. And if you do not need all of this space, you can close up the footer. You got a lot of footer area, but it doesn't seem like that's all your footer. So I would close that up. And make sure all of your items are set as footer items. There we go. And this ran right out. All right, so bottom of the page, or move this up, either or. So make sure your footer is actually located within the footer area. And let's take a look at the home page. All right, am I losing my mind? All right, so this is weird. So you have the master set up. It looks like, your max page width is set to 960, but on your home page, you've added a breakpoint somehow that's 1200. I don't even understand how this happened. File. So that's weird. Oh, you've just designed it to 1200. Well, you need to change. I keep using the quick keys from InDesign, not Muse. So you need to change your max page width to 1200 if that's what your design is going to be on your home page. And then fix this accordingly. They need to be consistent. And then in your home page, you got to add in those breakpoints. So those breakpoints, the ticks are here, but they're not added. So you need to add those breakpoints in for both of your pages. So I'm not going to show you how to do the breakpoints because that's part of the assignment. All right. But make sure that there's consistency between all of your page sizes. I'm surprised it let you do that. All right. So before we end today, is there anything that you want me to go over that was confusing and you'd like to see one more time?
I think I pretty much understand, especially stretching out the text boxes. And
Yeah, that's like just a weird thing that you don't really think about until like you see it do it and you're like, oh. And it took me a couple of times, like when I first started using Muse, I was like, I'm setting this to resize. Why isn't the text resizing? And then I realized, oh, it's only resizing the text box, not the font size. And I was like, well, that's kind of stupid. But I kind of got it at the same time. Like, so that's been my workaround is, all right, I guess I'll just make the box really big.
yeah, we all figure out workarounds.
Yeah, exactly. Muse is great. I always say this. Muse is great for what it is.
Right.
It's kind of like when you think about it, you're laying out something exactly how you would in InDesign, and it's literally doing the coding for you. So we can't really complain too much.
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes you're like, I just want to go in and just fix one thing.
I know. And, like I said before, is I need to design a website quickly for our new restaurant. So
yes,
this is my go-to, and I'm going to have like the next few weeks to do it, which would be fine. But I have like a quick question that maybe you can help regarding that. So having like a menu on the web page itself, I've seen other restaurants that have offered for you to click a button to print a PDF.
Yes.
Is there a way to do that in Muse easily then? Or?
Yes, there is. I'm going to show you right now. I'll show you on my site, so it'll make it a little bit easier.
That would be so helpful.
And I usually go over these sorts of things like I do a recap next week where I'm like, all right, you know what? You guys are making the site. Let's go over everything we learned and a couple of other tips and tricks. And that's usually one of my things that I add. All right.
Oh, okay.
So what you can do is, let's say, all right, let me just do like a hyperlink that's like menu or something. I'm just going to type out menu. And we'll pretend that this is like nicely designed and it matches the rest of my site. So I'm going to turn this into a hyperlink.
Okay.
But I'm going to link to a file.
Oh, okay.
And I know I have a PDF somewhere. Hold on. And it will link to my oh, here we go. It's going to link to this. Where my week 1 assignment one. All right.
Wow, that is so easy.
Like the first time I did, I was like, oh, you should be able to upload a PDF or something, right? And I was like, oh, well, wasn't that easy? I was like, I love easy. And then you just do that. And you'll see the hyperlink is right to that PDF.
Okay.
And then you can even do the same thing, like open it in a new tab or window. So it'll open the PDF and then they can kind of print from in there.
Sure.
Let me show you it real quick. Preview, we'll just preview the page. I forgot I set all my menu and my hyperlinks to be white. I'm like, why can't I see that?
Nice.
Here it is, all right. And see, now it opens up that PDF, so then I get all my PDF print options in a new tab too, that your browser already kind of has for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's super awesome. Like that's definitely, and what you can even do is you can even, place, like let's pretend that this is a picture of a dish or something from your website. You can make a graphic that says like menu and then hyperlink that.
Okay.
Which, so it doesn't even have to be text. Like you can make like, a little like graphic that says like our menu, like, click here and then it'll link to your PDF. So you can be really creative with it.
That's fantastic. Okay.
Yep. Awesome. So and super simple because, just link it to the PDF and then it'll take care of it for you.
Yes. Ain't nobody got time for coding this month.
Exactly. All right. So was there anything else that I can kind of show you quick or?
I'm sure I'll think of something else and I'll I'll let you know for sure.
Yeah, definitely. You know, if there's, and I'll put this out to anybody, if there's stuff that you want me to show next week when I kind of do my major Muse recap, and what I do is I build a site from scratch again. So if you need to just kind of follow along for anything, it's kind of there in those 2 live sessions, as opposed to having to go back through the 3 weeks worth of videos. I find people find it a little bit easier.
Okay.
If there's something that you want me to show, like, oh, like linking to PDFs or things like that, you know, definitely just shoot me an email and I'll try to add it to my list of things that I do.
Nice. Okay.
All right. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for contributing tonight. I super appreciate it. And if anybody has any questions this week, please make sure that you email me, that you get in with the learning coaches. I know Christy has hours Wednesday through Friday, but you can see if Wanda's in there. You can see if Russell's in there. They're really good with Muse. And yeah, I hope everybody has a great night.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.